Hey, so we'll kind of wait and see who makes it, or if anybody makes it, and see what happens along the way here. Probably everybody's eating lunch. So there's Travis. Hey, Travis, good to see you, man. You driving or eating, Travis? And then we're getting some people back. Hey, Sid and Grace back on Instagram. So good to see you guys too. Enjoying, can't really call it a snow day, I guess, right? We're calling it an ice day. And yeah, so that's positive. So we'll let a couple people get here, and then we'll talk a little bit more about connection, and maybe I'll even share a couple more thoughts about connection. And then also we'll just do some Q&A too along the way and see what's happening there. So just because it is about lunchtime, let's do it. I love this question. We did some Facebook Lives a couple months ago, or last summer, whenever that was. What have you had for lunch today, or what are you eating, or what are you going to eat for lunch today? So somewhere, just give us a response. Instagram, Facebook, doesn't matter. What are you having for lunch today, or what are you going to have for lunch today? So I would love to know. I just had a GF bar, and I think that's what lunch is going to be today. So that's kind of what it is. Somebody in the office, it's probably Pastor Joel. It smelled like vegetable soup, so it smelled really good. I wasn't offered any, but I think it was good. So yeah, what did you have for lunch, or what are you having? What are you having for lunch today? That would be the opening big question. The secondary question would be, have you had to drive on this ice for our Michigan friends? Richard's on from not Michigan now, but hey, Richard, down in Virginia. Good to see you, man. You are the man, Richard Maddox. Still everybody's best friend. You're a good man. So, Richard, we're iced in the state of Michigan. So we're talking about snow days and ice days and all good things. So, hey, people are still kind of trickling in here. Let's just talk a little bit more about connecting and what connecting can look like, and how we do it. And we talked a little bit on Sunday how really one of the values is you want to have just some healthy perspective and understand where friends are and what it really looks like. Like, how many of the certain kinds of friends can we really have? How many people can we really be deeply, deeply connected to? And really, most social scientists say that's somewhere, in the 5 or 6 range. Maybe it's 7 or 8 on the top end of the extreme. And that's really good, and healthy people and things like that. And that's great. Maybe in a broader circle, maybe there's 50 people or so that are in kind of this circle of people we have fun with, we enjoy their company. And there's 100 or 150 people that we kind of know their name. We might know a couple facts about them. We might be able to put a couple of things together, but we don't know them deeply. But a lot of times we get confused and think we need to. And then we just talked about, we need a healthy purpose. Relationships grow best and seem to click best when we're sharing some kind of purpose together, even if that purpose is to get through a struggle together, or to grow together somehow, or to share an experience together. It's why in church world, mission teams bond, because they go to share a purpose together. They end up sharing the purpose of experience together, learning together, and growing together. There's probably one other healthy thing we need. We didn't talk about this on Sunday, though. It's just healthy habits. We need healthy habits to really engage relationships. And some of those healthy habits in our culture, in our world today, some of the healthiest relationship connecting habits we have are actually the habits we have when we're alone. Like, do we allow ourselves the gift of solitude? Do we allow ourselves the gift of, when we are alone, being unplugged? Or are we actually alone but still constantly connected to our thousands of friends and acquaintances on social media? Are we constantly connected to the world and news and what's happening? Part of what builds our connecting tank and the connecting reservoir in us is if we have some times where it is just us, where we experience solitude, and we really do not just get alone with our technology, but get alone with just us. And rest in that a little bit, become a little more comfortable in that. Part of what's making connecting hard is when we're always connected, we're never really getting to replenish, and we're actually adding to some of our own anxiety and unrest and uncertainty there. So that's one of the healthy habits we can have. Another one of the healthy habits is just to kind of figure out what's my initiation rhythm. Connecting can have an initiation fatigue, where it gets hard to always be the one trying to initiate a relationship. And yet there's some determination we need to have in it. So how do we just keep saying, okay, I'm going to try and get some time with this person, or I'm going to try and get some time with that person, or as a family, or as a group of friends, we're going to include this person, or we're going to invite somebody in. And being willing to say, I'm going to keep being the initiator. I'm going to keep doing that in hopes that eventually, like every part of a relationship, there's some reciprocity there where it comes back and forth to us a little bit. But to say, look, I'm going to have an initiation rhythm. In fact, one of the challenges for all of us who want to connect more is even in the next 7 days, just to say, who am I going to initiate time with? Who am I going to initiate time with? Before next Wednesday, who will I initiate time with? It's just a way for us to put something down and say, I'm going to try. They might say, no, it might not work. We might get together and not enjoy each other at all. Or who knows? Maybe we'll get together and enjoy it enough we would connect again. But just having some measured initiation and resilience in that. And I understand full well initiation fatigue could be remarkably draining. And that's why there's a rhythm to it. We're not trying to have to initiate every single day necessarily, but on occasion, we've got to be the ones to go for it. And then be willing to take a healthy habit of taking a little risk. Somebody for the relationship to move has got to be vulnerable first. Who's that going to be? And it's a little vulnerability. And just to see how is that received and how is it given back. And engaging in that time. I think for most of us, we're all waiting for everybody else to go first on the vulnerability front. And instead, maybe we all need to just go first. And so there are some things like that just around healthy habits that can help us. But I'd love to just know what's on your mind around connecting. What are you thinking about? What are you wondering about? I mean, as a loneliness epidemic grows, as it gets harder and harder for people to find meaningful connection. Again, some of the stats that we shared on Sunday, 54% of us kind of feel alone. Over 40% of us feel like we have a lot of people around us, but nobody really with us, and no meaningful relationships in that. And so just curious, like, what are you thinking about? What are your wonders? What do you wonder about connecting? What do you wonder about why it's challenging? What have you found to be helpful? What's been good for you? I'd love to go to school on your learnings and let some of us learn from each other too. So yeah, respond back, whatever form you're on, whether you're on Instagram here or Facebook or Instagram on either account that's kind of up and running. Let us know what you think. While you kind of fire in some questions, because there's a little bit of a delay in that, I'll just talk to you a little bit about kind of another one of those healthy habit pieces. One of the great things, I mentioned leading with some vulnerability. One of the biggest things about connecting is a lot of us are looking for pockets to be vulnerable in and where we think meaningful relationship might form. And one of the things we want to do is to say, hey, I'm also going to receive other people's vulnerability really well. I'm going to prepare myself to receive other people's vulnerability. I'm going to receive it well. I'm going to handle it carefully. And if you really want to like push the envelope forward, applaud their courage in being vulnerable, and resist being the answer person to their vulnerability. I've started saying to people a lot recently is, I just promise to try not to give you any pithy answers. Like that's my promise to you. I'm just going to do my best to try not to overwhelm you with pithy answers and things that come off as like just spiritual cliches. So just a few more thoughts on that. So, okay, here's a couple questions. Mark's going to feed us questions. That's good. What's your favorite story of Jesus connecting and why? Yeah, that's a great one. I honestly think my favorite story of Jesus connecting is actually when he called the first disciples to himself. Like, it was very intentional for Jesus, and he called them, and his first move was to like call them away with him, almost like their own little mini retreat, because he wanted to be with them. Like, he had purposed in his heart, I want to be with these guys. I want to be with them. They're going to share in a purpose with me. That's what he was inviting them into. There's that purpose thing. But he had just purposed in his heart that he didn't just want to get the purpose done. He wanted to be with them. And so his first move, he initiated it, and he was very intentional in saying, these are going to be my guys. These are the people that I want to be with. And I love that. I absolutely love that, and love Jesus' intentionality with it, his purpose in it, his desire to be with people in it, his desire to be with these guys in it, which actually then led him to connecting them, which I think is a beautiful part of the disciple story over time, is that they weren't just connected to Jesus, they were connected to each other. And they were people who wouldn't have had a lot in common to begin with, and they probably socially wouldn't have been people that the rest of the world would have ended up together. And so I think it's a cool element of how Jesus formed that. So I'm going to try and real quick just help somebody get into this live, because there it is. So so we're trying to let everybody in. So what other questions would you have about connecting? What are you thinking about? What have you found to be hard about connecting? Just when it comes to finding meaningful relationships, in relationships where you feel like, there's a lot of substance in that for me. I feel connected there. I feel kind of at home in that relationship. What's been hard for you? At any age, at any season of life, whether it was or is hard for you in middle school or high school or college or young adulthood. We've got a pretty diverse group of people watching now, and that's great. How has it been hard for you? What's been hard for you just about this thing of building meaningful relationships? What's the challenge? For me, sometimes it's been the initiation fatigue I talked about. I mean, part of why I got some understanding that one is because it's been hard. Like we've kind of had to navigate that one. What does it mean to initiate and get initiation fatigue when a certain number of relationships they don't seem to click? Maybe they stay in that group of 50 and you're still looking for that group of 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 that's just a little bit closer. Or they stay in the 100 and you really want to be in the 50. And the initiation can be challenging. But what about you? I would love to hear from you. Just what has made connecting hard, or what about connecting has been hard? What does that feel like to you? What are the biggest challenges you bump up against? And even you can even think about it. Even Jesus, who we told the story of, had challenges in it, right? I mean, his guys betrayed him. They weren't there when he needed them most. Even for Jesus, it was uphill a little bit. So I think there's some freedom in us just saying, connecting is kind of an uphill deal. So I'd love to hear from you. What's the challenge? What's the connecting challenge? I'd love to hear what your take is on it and why. If you can do it in between bites, for those of you who are eating lunch while you're watching this thing. So, and greetings to you, Mike Barrett, my corny New York friend. Good to see you, man. All the way. I know you don't live there anymore, but that's where all my memories of you are. So it's good to see you, man. Yeah. Bringing people into real life versions of our lives seems remarkably hard. Seems hard. Yeah, man, that's so true, right? That's honest and true, and how to do it, and how do you do it in stages and in movement, because nobody sees the real us all at one time, and then the real us is growing, and the real us is being transformed, and that's a great one, Christy, and a very, very real tension. One of the other tensions of that can be too, I don't think this is exactly what you're saying, Christy, but I think one of the other tensions related to that can be that you get in really meaningful relationships and not everybody grows at same paces. And so it feels like when somebody grows, it can throw the rhythm of a relationship off. It actually happens to people in marriage. Like spouses don't always grow at the same time across the board. They don't grow as parents at the same time. They don't grow spiritually at the same time. They don't grow as a spouse at the same time. And when that growth rhythm changes a little bit, all of a sudden it doesn't feel like the real us is quite as valued in the relationship anymore. And there has to be this real intentionality to say, wait, we're just not all growing at the same pace. And that's not bad. That's normal. That's part of it. So that's an ongoing challenge to the bringing people into real life piece, that just is a true part of relationships as we keep growing and keep spending life with people. Generational dynamics. Yep. Don, 100%. It's challenging to not just want to cross generational gaps, but to understand how, and what's the learning curve, and how do we do that, and how does each relationship hear love, value, connection a little differently than other generations did. And I think for me, who now is like the ancient person on our staff here at church, it's hard. The challenge we all have to wrestle with is, how do we learn to speak each other's language? How do I not just try and get my language across, but how do I learn to speak and hear other people's connecting language? Like we talk about love languages a lot. Well, there's conversational and relational languages too among generations, and how do we do that? So yeah, Don, you're totally, that's a absolutely huge one, and getting bigger. People are living longer, right? Younger generations there's more of them, and so the generational gap's getting expressed even a little bigger for us. So yeah. What's something on the other side of that, and keep responding to what makes it hard. That's great. But what's something on the other side where you say, man, this has kind of worked. Maybe you even stumbled into something that worked relationally, and just in the forming of connection and deep connection. Maybe something that's helped you keep connecting with people. What's something that's you've kind of just noticed the fruit of that in your life? And again, maybe it's something you kind of stumbled into. You just didn't even intentionally know it. But as you look at your relationships today, or some of your closest relationships, what's something where you'd say, boy, this just seems to have been a key for me. And it may not be a universal key, it might be, but just what's something that's worked? Maybe Don, for you, what's something that's helped you cross those generational groups, and what does that look like? Yeah, would love to hear from you on that too. So we can not just hear each other's struggles, but we could actually also hear each other's wins, and find some encouragement in each other's wins as well, because that can matter just as much. Because some of you're probably on here for the same reason I am. It would be great to change the stats that we shared at Journey on Sunday, right? It would be great if 54% of us weren't feeling alone. It would be great if 56% of us were not surrounded by lots of people, but not really sure anybody's with us. Man, it would be great. It would be great to know that. Just be able to turn that tide and push against that. So, yeah, Don, you said one of your wins. Appreciate you, Don, chiming that in, because that's good. Willingness to be real with younger generations. And yeah, I think people feel more connected to us long haul through our failures than our successes. I think people are attracted to us because of our successes. They're connected to us because of our failures a lot of times. And not our failures that we wallow in, and not our failures that somehow become our identity, but just the honesty that life isn't always flawless. And I think, we're attracted to people because of their success, and they have something we want, or we want to learn from them. But the real lesson often came in some of the failure on the way to that success. And so I think, yeah, Don, your willingness, and you've modeled this really well, to be vulnerable and real with the generation that's watching, and the generation that's trying to learn from you. And you're right. I don't think they connect with plastic people. And I kind of push against the myth that any generation ever connected with plastic people. I think that they wanted to, and that was the image that was held up, but that generation felt remarkably alone. So they weren't as connected to plastic people as they thought they were. So, yeah, hey, maybe like one more minute. I'll just give you one window last on a question or a thought or something that's worked for you inside of relationships. We'd love to hear from you. And again, we just thought we'd take a risk and try to go back to Facebook Live and see what would happen. So it was fun to talk a little bit about healthy habits, which was a build on from what we talked about on Sunday. Some healthy habits we can have in addition to our healthy purpose and our healthy perspective. And then just to hear from some of you was fun as well. So thanks for chiming in on that, and thanks for taking a break from whatever you're doing and whatever you're eating for lunch and whatever that looks like. And I hope the rest of your afternoon is remarkably good. Again, to those of you here in Michigan, be safe. I don't know if it's still icy out or not, but be safe. To my friends from the South, enjoy your warmth, my friends. Appreciate you guys jumping on, but enjoy your warmth. So we'll explore maybe doing some other things like this in the future if it seems kind of fun, and we'll see what things look like along the way. So have a great rest of your Wednesday. So thanks, everybody.